Hi team, my name is Bill from Synergistic Systems Incorporated. Nice to virtually meet you. Hey guys, I know I'm seeing a lot of back and forth on this topic, but I really need to push back and raise some red flags here. Some of these phrases are foundational to our ability to drive efficiencies and a corporate landscape. Sure, some are just boilerplate solutions, leveraged to the hilt and really only keeping us at a 30,000 foot view of things. Others, however, really allow us to get better granularity, find better directional indicators, and loop back and dive deep into some critical issues on a go-forward basis. Through it, reduce thrash, and let's stay in lockstep on this. Yes, we will synergize. So net, ignore the naysayers, sidebar the folks that are stuck in the weeds, and don't waste cycles or bandwidth on folks that don't align strongly with this mission. Try it out, and we'll have another touch point in a little while to see if we've moved the needle. If you need me, I'll be online again in a bit.
The chainsaws allow me to have an interesting connection with people that would likely never materialize outside of this spectrum. Typically, a guy buys a used tool from someone and off into the ether it goes, never to be seen again. Now, I do the same thing in regards to the sales end of things, but in the collecting end of things, it creates another type of connection. This Jonsereds 80 made its way to me through some channels from Colorado. I had posted a thread on a forum about looking for some of the older J-Reds, and a fella posted a link to the Craigslist ad. Craigslist used to be the pinnacle of local trading and swapping. Now it's going by the wayside in favor of Marketplace. I placed an email to the gentleman and told him my disposition and explained to him my prospective use for the machine and asked if he would be interested in shipping if I did some of the arrangement for him. We ended up having a phone conversation about it, and the saw was on its way. Plain, square dealing. We talked about how we have both had strange experiences on Craigslist and how they have gone awry and our disdain for such matters. It's good to know people are still shooting it straight out there and trying to make a deal that suits both of them in a respectable fashion. And why not? The world's really not that bad. I'm telling you, I live in it. As we talked, he told me of his original purchase of the saw with the intent to cut timber in the western part of Colorado. Can you imagine? He emailed me a couple of pics, one of him with the saw in action and another of a square body Chevy loaded down with logs in the mountains. How lucky I am to have met this guy, and now I get to have a keepsake from this experience from him. It can stay on my shelf in perpetuity. As I establish my place of business further, people come in and muse over the saws we have here. Ask if they're for sale. Tell me Grandpa had one. If they're really, really nice, maybe we'll start one up or talk about the stories of each one when they came in, some more vivid than others. The Jonsered 80 is a standout to me. I hope Bob won't mind me retelling what little I know about this saw to folks who come through. What a fucking beautiful existence I've been blessed with. Every time one of these interactions take place, I begin to ask myself existential questions about my life, my place in it. What direction am I going in? Have I had an epiphany in my life? Looking back, I forced, fought, and fussed my way through my whole beginning part of my life. Always busy, always doing something, and always fighting the next big thing. I was a fucking pro, man. As I've grown into my 30s, I have less of a desire to fight these things and more of a desire to enjoy my life and the simple things about it that make it good. Everything was full of some existential fear, and it was a clear marker of my inexperience. I have a friend, Danny, who passed away right before Christmas in 21 because of the virus. I remember receiving the call. Dan and I would do projects a lot in the fair weather months, but wouldn't see each other much in the wintertime. In the first part of January, I look down at my phone and I see Dan Sell calling me. In my usual tone, I answer, "Hey, Jimmy Brown," a name that him and I used to call one another. "How you doing?" His wife replied, "This ain't Dan." I said, "Oh boy, what's going on?" She told me the news and we reminisced about Dan a bit. Dan was a skilled carpenter that that taught me a lot of different skills I had never known before. He was a meticulous guy and knew just about everything when it came to carpentry work around the house. I still see a lot of things around my house that him and I did together. It still hits me a bit inside whenever I see these things. His wife suggested to me before we hung up that I should continue to do those things and also pass those skills along. Recently, I installed a ledge stone backsplash in my kitchen. I remember years ago how I would have to ask for help and likely carry some level of stress about it. Now I covered the wall with the goop and put the stuff on top of it. And that's all it really is anyways. Some goop with some junk over top of it, just with a little bit of style. Here we go again with that falling with style talk. Thanks, Dan, for showing me what you knew. I'll pass this along where I can. After all, most of the cliches about life are true and repeated because of it. As I get further into my 30s, I realize these things. Coming to terms with the reality that I'm fallible and mortal is probably one of the most terrifying and most freeing things I know. It affords me the opportunity to say, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to enjoy my life. How to get a hardhead to quit being a hardhead? You got to threaten him with death and mean it. All right, now you've got my attention, life. We're only all going to be here once, and what we do with our lives, how we take control of them, and how we assert ourselves inside of them are a constituent of our experience here. One thing I do understand is that what we do in our lives and what we pass on to others has a way of going through generations. What a responsibility this is. Maybe these experiences we have with people are just like a collection of old chainsaws that sit on a shelf. A proven tool that we can pull out from time to time and use, pass along, or just revere when in a lucid moment.
Nice to virtually meet you.